Hey everyone, I'm Rob Neilinger and I'm with Coach Fino today.
You got it.
Thanks for coming in, buddy. We've talked a few times. We've never met in person, actually, have we?
No, this is our first time.
But so everyone might know Coach Fino as you put off this magazine now, right?
Real producers, yeah.
So you brought this magazine. You got on the cover, we got Dylan Madsen, What It Bees Like. So I follow Dylan all the time, and I love watching him. And he's on the cover of this magazine. So it's pretty cool you brought this today. I met Dylan at Penn State one time, and I know he loves Penn State, and we have that connection. So tell us a little bit about this magazine, what it's all about, what it means, and how it can help people.
Sure, no problem. So Real Producers is actually a national franchise of publications that's meant for and by the top 500 agents. If it's a smaller market, they'll do 300 agents.
Okay.
So in South Central PA, there was 24,000 transactions done last year.
Okay.
Just under 20,000 of them were done by our top 500 agents.
Wow.
And there's over 5,000 licensed in our area.
So how many did the top 20,000?
The top 500 did 20,000.
Wow.
Just under 20,000, and there's just over 24,000 totally done. So what we do is we take that publication, we bring those people together, and what we find is that they're doing so much, but they're not really able to connect with each other, and they're not really to understand each other on a deeper level, but when they do,
yeah,
everybody benefits. The deals become smoother. They understand each other moving forward. You learn from one another here, and the whole community benefits. So that's what Real Producers does. We bring them together. We share their stories through a publication. We bring them together through events, masterminding events, and etc. And it's free to the agents. Free to these agents is paid for by premier partners.
Oh wow!
So it's been highly successful nationwide. I'm glad to be bringing it here to South Central PA.
So these top agents that are going on this magazine. So if someone out here is a top 500 agent and they're looking at this, does it cost anything for them to be in the cover of this magazine?
Not at all. You couldn't pay me to be on the cover. What I do is I look at that 500. We have a conversation if it interests you, and I think you have a story that our readers want to see. We go ahead and send out the photographer. We have the article writer. The whole 9 yards. Doesn't cost you a dime.
Wow.
And in our feature, we not only have the top agents, but we also have a rising star, so somebody that's killing it, licensed less than 5 years. And we even feature our partners as well, so we can learn about our title and mortgage people as people. 80% of who you are as people, 20% about what you do.
Well, I know you've reached out to me probably a lot of times, and I know you reached out to Heather, and you've been trying to get with us maybe to do it. We're in the top 500 maybe, are we?
Okay. Yes, you're absolutely. Cool. So we've been blessed. If you're following this podcast, Joy Daniels was on the cover. Dylan was our second. Amy Beachy's our third, and this most current one, Wendell Hoover, is going to be on the most current one. So it's a monthly publication. It's exciting to keep. I
know all those agents and done deals with most of them. Now I haven't done one with Bees Like yet, but someday I would assume we would. So
I would imagine he's up there on that list. I'd imagine you will cross. Absolutely.
So is this the main thing you're doing now, the magazine?
Yes. I primarily speak, coach, and train nationwide, and the magazine supports that. So I go by Coach Fino, not because I'm a real estate coach, but I'm a football coach.
Oh, you are a football coach?
I'm a football coach, and I fell in love with coaching football, and it made me leave corporate America. At one point, I thought I may only have 6 months to live, and I reprioritized my life at that point.
Oh, wow.
When I went into real estate as Rich Fino, nobody was remembering. As soon as I started marketing Coach Fino, the parents of the kids that I was coaching remembered, and the business went through the roof. In my first 3 years, I was blessed to be in the top 10% of the MLS.
Oh, wow.
But I fell in love with coaching and training agents. Yeah. And the publication forces me to interview the top 500 agents and help me spread their wisdom and knowledge to every agent that I can get my hands on.
Wow. And you said you ran at Keller Williams for five years. Which one was that?
Keller Williams was Central PA East in the Harrisburg East Shore. So ran that for 5 years. Had a great time. What a great learning there.
Wow.
And then since then, I was a vice president of agent success for Long and Foster Real Estate as well, but chose to be back on my own to do this and coach and train 100% on my own.
So are you coaching and training people that reach out to you now, or is that something you still do?
I do, yep, I still do.
So they can message you or call your cell, or what's the best way for them to get a hold of you from that regard?
Message me, call my cell. I work a lot with Workman Success Systems, and you can get to me through there as well if you look up Rural Workman and Workman Success Systems.
Okay, wow. So where do you live?
In Harrisburg, Susquehanna Township.
Oh, awesome. So I live about 2 blocks from here right now. Nice. Not even 2 blocks. So have you ever invested in real estate? Do you have any rental properties? Any of that kind of stuff?
So I lost my shirt in the recession. I'll be the first to tell you that I had 11.
Okay.
I had 11 and ended up having to sell, and unfortunately the bank had to take 2 of them back during that recession. It was a
Which
tough
recession
scenario.
was that?
07, 08
Okay.
time frame. It was quite the scenario. So now I just take those learnings when I help the investors that I come across.
So 2008, I remember we had about 28 or 29 rentals. Everybody kind of got hurt in real estate in that recession. We were home builders, and we were at the point, so we were building houses and losing money. So 2 houses, we lost 100K, 60 on one, 40 on another. And I remember with Kim, I was like, we were trying to navigate this. But people were still paying the rents on our 29 rentals. So we were like, well, we can't let those go. We met with a bankruptcy attorney. We owned a mobile home park at the time, and we were like struggling what to do. And at that point, we had owned our own real estate office, which I really wouldn't recommend anyone to go out and do their own real estate office. I think you have to have scale with real estate offices if you want to make money. Like, you don't need to own 20 offices. That's my philosophy on rental offices. But we went and saw a bankruptcy attorney. We didn't file bankruptcy, but we were teetering back then. So we struggled. We went and got Priuses, my brothers and I. We all just sucked because gas was high then. Everything was a problem back then. So we just kind of sucked it up. We didn't file for bankruptcy, and we kind of got through it.
Yeah, so actually that's a great question. What kept you from not wanting to switch from? What kept you to stay with it? Was it lack of alternative, or you just saw, you did see a light at the end of the tunnel?
I think we had this mobile home park that we were building called, it was a Creekview, a 55 and over community, and we thought that had a lot of equity in it. Whether it did or didn't, we thought that was our light and our shining. Like, if we could get through all this mess, we went and met with the bankruptcy attorney because we were at that point. We didn't know what to do. And we just kind of made the decision to buckle down. Then we went to Berkshire and worked out a deal to come here. We got rid of our real estate offices, and that gave a little bit of seed money to get us going. And we started a real estate team when the economy was the worst. And with our work ethic, we got through it.
And if you had to do it again, you would have done it again?
I would. I know. Yes. Okay. I have a plan. If things go to hell in a handbasket, I could go think up of about 10 moves I could make to get smaller, to get thinner, to get leaner, to fix my problem.
Wow, that's absolutely fantastic. Where did you get that knowledge?
Just being in the thick of the problem. I mean, when COVID hit, right, overnight things were shut down. Like, we laid everybody off immediately. Now we brought, we had some people work, under the table or whatnot. I guess, I don't know if we can even post that. But anyway, you just got to be ready in case the world is going to end. And I just feel like, from back in 2008, what we learned back then, I could adapt right now under any situation. And if we were struggling for money, I can tell you, as I've grown my companies now, I've grown my cash reserves too.
Smart with that.
So I have a company the new assisted living that we're building, and it's burning through cash like as we speak. But we still have about $2 million in cash sitting within our companies. That's like reserves.
Wow.
And I'm selling some more rentals right now as we speak that'll generate $1 more million of free cash.
Wow. Now, given the current turmoil and change in the market as a whole, and given the perspective that you have, do you think we're headed down that same path or nowhere near the recession from back then?
I don't think we're heading. I think if we're going to have a housing recession, I think you have to have a lot of foreclosures. I'm seeing very little foreclosures. We go to the share of sales in 6 counties. Okay. We've bought 2 houses in the last year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we've gone to those every single month. Such a waste of money. And the only reason we got a couple deals is we may have overpaid and we may have gotten lucky.
Gotcha.
Like, because we're buying on the outskirts where no one else will buy, and we go just make a little bit of money.
I find those of us that lived that, I handled it much differently. I ended up finding salary jobs and survived the recession at that point. That's when I ran Keller Williams, is how I popped that off. But I can tell you that from having that perspective of living it through that scenario, at least my opinion is how it feels now is nowhere near that. And I'm trying to and there's so many agents that have been licensed in the past 3 years that think the sky is falling at the moment. And without that perspective, no, it's not even close to that.
Yeah, I know over the last few months, I'm always nervous of that happening. So if I list a house and I don't get a showing for a week, I'm mentally panicking. Should we lower the price, Mike? What should we do? I asked Mike, I asked Heather. No, give it another week. then we get a showing or two, then it sells. And it's like, glad I didn't panic because I would have dropped the price 10 or 15,000 bucks in the first week. So it's, you know, even in 2019 before COVID, there was the economy was kind of, the housing market was teetering down a little bit. It wasn't selling on fire. We just haven't had a real downturn in Central PA since 2008 or 9.
I'll tell you what, Central PA as a whole, we're blessed because we've never seen the really, really high highs, but we never saw the really low lows. And then when that pandemic hit, all this out-of-town money, the D.C., Baltimore homeowners realized that I can spend, wait a minute, the money I'm spending for a condo, I can get a McMansion, and now I can work from home. All of a sudden, that really elevated our market.
Oh, yeah. I still think housing prices are pretty high compared to what they used to be. I still have trouble when I'm comping a house to buy it to flip it. Really, it's really going to be worth that much money? Like because I'm thinking back, my brain is skewed from the last 5-6 years ago when things were much cheaper. I see a house that should be, I think, 180 and we're selling it for 280. Like it's hard to understand. I don't know if it's going to come down. Anyone that has a 3% rate, who in the world is going to sell to buy a more expensive house and a 2.5 times the rate? It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's the importance of the out of town money helping us in that aspect of it. But you're right. I'm sitting with the 3.5 right now. I have zero intention of leaving that to go to a 7 or 8. You know, unless there was some other crazy, amazing deal that would require that. And that's got to be the bulk of people that have been here for quite some time.
Yep. My wife was we were just thinking about looking at a different school district to move into. So we looked at 2 houses. And I think they were in the 700,000 or 800,000 range. And I'm like, this house isn't even near as nice as mine. So I'm going to get less house. It's going to cost more, and the interest rate is going to be 2.5 times what I have now. It just doesn't make any sense.
Oh my gosh! So there's an expression. I don't know if you've heard this before, that you can make a living selling real estate, but you get wealthy investing in it.
Yes.
Would you agree 100%?
I would agree 100%.
If people were and you've built it, in my brief time with you, I can tell you've built quite the empire that many people won't even get close to in that aspect of it. What was step 1? What's step 1? What's step 2 in that aspect of it?
I just started, I think the key was figuring out how to buy some investment real estate. I walked around the office, I showed you 2 people that work for us that have 40 rentals each. And they're both, one's 30 and the other's 25 years old. So they did that one step at a time. They may not be making a ton of money per month because they do all the work, right? If they're doing all the work, they might make $7-8 grand a month, which is probably equal to their salary here. But from being around people that are doing what they wanted to do, it's all rubbed off. We have other people in the office that have 8 rentals. We have another girl in the office that has 10. We have a girl that has a 2-unit. We have another girl and guy that's going to buy their first rental property soon. Like, it is infectious back there how much we all talk about investing in real estate. And I can tell you, I don't make a lot of money on my 200. I told you I have 200 that I own by myself. The other 600 I own with investors.
Right. Gotcha.
The 200 I own by myself, I don't really, when you consider full management and full maintenance, I don't take money out of that company per month. None. It makes a little bit of money, but it really just funds all the repairs. Now, I didn't fix them up when I bought them. I just bought them, like I bought 100 one year.
Okay.
So so when there's turns or it needs a new kitchen, we just do all that work. Now, my 600 units that I only own like 18% of, I make $50,000 a month on.
You're capturing the cash flow?
Capturing the cash flow.
Wow. And somebody, if you only own 18, are you managing them too, or somebody?
I manage everything.
You're managing everything. Wow.
Everything.
Wow, that makes sense.
But the larger ones have better cash flow. You know, the investors want their money, so when we peel off their cash flow, I'm getting my cut too, and that's where I make about $50,000 a month.
Gotcha.
And I'm moving that into an account. I save for taxes, and the money's just sitting there. It's not allocated to a monthly expense.
Wow.
My $50K.
I'll be painfully in my own personal experience when I purchased, and I first got into real estate in order to be an investor. I was an HR executive and had a couple extra dollars. I made the purchases based off cash flow. What was it, a 1.5 or 2.0 number, what I was looking for. And then what I found out was I needed to pay more attention, especially when the recession hit. I needed to pay more attention to where I was at, because the vacancy rate is what killed me, and I wasn't leveraged enough to overcome that. So how do you at what point of number of properties do you feel like you're kind of balanced and leveraged where you're not necessarily at risk if one property fails?
I think you need to look at where you're buying. Where were your properties?
Inner city, Harrisburg, Allison
Okay.
Hill.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like outskirts of towns, right, away from the big cities is where we've had luck. Carlisle, Mechanicsburg. We have 250 units in Hershey.
Wow.
We don't have any problems in Hershey collecting rent. I do own some in Harrisburg, and I will tell you that the ones in Harrisburg sometimes are more delinquent than the ones in like in Carlisle, PA, or in Cumberland County.
Gotcha.
No rhyme or reason to it. So sometimes the big cities aren't necessarily the best. The hub, the suburbs, sometimes have done better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that if I do it over again, I'm reading a book, I'm buying this guy's program, etc. in terms of doing that in scenario, and they're giving me real generic math. What I'm missing, and it's probably where sounds like you really benefit, let me apply that generic math to local understanding. And then that's your payoff for making some of the better decisions.
Yep.
So.
I bought 5 buildings in downtown Carlisle like about 8 years ago. Dan Deichman was a big investor in Carlisle. I don't know if you heard of him. He's done big stuff. It was on the market for $1.1 million, and it was on the market, off the market, and I finally went and met with him. I saw him at a bar, and I said, "Hey, I'm interested in those buildings. Can we work a deal out?" He said, "Yeah, come to my office." So they were listed at 1.1. I bought them for $912,000. All the storefronts were vacant, so I went and put money into the storefronts. Okay. I converted some of the office space that was upstairs into apartments, and I injected all the money. And then I went and got to buy them. They were deeded separately, 5 buildings. So I got private money on 4 of the buildings, and I went and got a bank loan on 1 of the buildings. And I mapped it all out. I ended up refinancing them all on 15-year loans, every single one of them, and they were covering that. So you can see I wasn't making a lot of money. And just this past year, I decided to sell all 5 buildings, and I bought them all for $912. And I think I did the math. I'm selling them all for $2.5 million.
Wow.
Owning them for 8 years. So I didn't make a lot of cash that I could keep because I was injecting all the money. But when you sell them for 2.5, and now I think the last 4 buildings. Right, because I was on 15-year mortgages, so they were paying down very, very fast.
Wow.
So I'm pocketing a lot of, that's how I've got a lot of reserve cash as well right now.
Boy, and you're sharing that with your team. You're sharing that knowledge with your team.
Everybody here knows, yeah. And they may not be making a lot of money per month on their deals sometimes, but what you have to do is look over time. And I foresee, back in 06, we thought the prices were super high in 06, right? We said, we're never going to get to 06 prices. Well, now, 06 looks cheap.
That's right.
And I can assure you, if you look fast forward 10 more years, it's going to probably keep growing because Cumberland County is the fastest growing county in the state.
Wow. So if you've been blessed, you've made a lot of great decisions, you've learned, you've shared that knowledge. What does that translate to you on a day-to-day from a quality of life standpoint? How do you really get to enjoy that?
That's a good question because we did really good, and now we invested $4 million of cash, so it's like we're tight again when we're doing this other big project. So I can tell you, my wife, if she needs money, she asks me for money, and then I've got to go to my sister. Like we are still on like a $500 a week budget. We've started to pay some, like all of our expenses get paid, but we get $500 of spending money. And when you have kids and sports and all that stuff, it isn't even enough. And we've started to pay out some bonuses. But we're not at the point where we're really have cash given to us. I'm bad. You give me cash, I'm buying people lunch that are with me. I'm buying everybody around me stuff. But the goal would be to because when you get to 50K, like I said on the passive, if you start spending that money, it's gone. It's gone. When you take tax out, it's gone. So the assisted living could get to $125,000 of passive cash.
Gotcha.
You add that to the 50, and then you're at 175. Now we can maybe start raising our pay on a regular basis versus a bonus here and there.
Gotcha.
And we're not budgeting any of the flips that we do. All of our flip money that we do goes back into, just either into the business or into reserves. And we probably made $1 million flipping this year, and last year we probably made $1.6 million. So it's actually been going down.
Gotcha.
Market's tighter, more competitive, harder to find deals.
Sounds like you have some wisdom though from that first recession anyway, or from that time.
We have, yes, yep.
Yeah.
We just keep we know something's weird that's happening. We just don't know what. And it could be nothing. But it feels a little weird.
I gotcha. Wow, that's fantastic. So, buddy, I'm impressed as a whole. I didn't expect. So, for folks, this is my first time meeting Rob coming here. We've had people in circles, and I'm more familiar with Heather from a sales standpoint. But in my brief time here, wow, the what you've accomplished in such a short period of time. I'm going to name drop a few other folks that have invested well.
Yes.
Cindy Armour-Helm, I know, invested well. Chris Daniels and Joy Daniels have invested well. But I got to tell you, you have a different level and mindset in that aspect as well. Have you ever mastermind with those kinds of folks as well?
I have some,
Okay.
not a whole lot. I'm in a real estate mastermind, actually with Eric Brewer out of York. So I'm in a mastermind that he's in, and there's like the top 200 people in the country that meet on a quarterly basis. So that's where I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. And of course, I've been spreading anything I could with anyone that would listen locally, bringing anyone and everyone into chat here, talking about real estate.
Boy, what? So why not keep it to yourself? Why do you do that? Why not keep it to yourself?
I'm a people person. I like helping people. I've sold a lot of my rentals to people that work for me. I didn't realize the market was going to shoot up as high as it did, so I give them a hard time about how they took advantage of me on some of them. Because we sold a whole block. One time we bought a whole block of houses, and we had agreed to sell them all, right? That was part of our plan to get ready for our assisted living. And the couple of the people in our team that bought houses, they were setting the rental rates and setting the prices. So they were telling me that they could buy it for, so I'd be, okay, I'll sell it to you for that. But then they would go rent it for higher. And I'm like, you guys just took advantage of me. It's a joke. But,
I got it.
But, I think bringing people into the fold that are doing real estate, we just have a lot more fun that way. It's not all about the money. If we were all about the money, we wouldn't give away as much and want to help so much. But my brother's the same way. He likes helping people, and Heather will give anything too. She'll help anybody she can.
Wow.
But helping people is part of it along the way.
Yeah, and a different skill set. I've helped people over time as well, but I don't have the mindset or skill set that you have from an investment standpoint. I'm much more a human interaction. So HR background, recruiting, running an office.
Yeah.
If you have a communication breakdown, I'm that guy. If you have an objection handling scenario, I'm that guy to help people get your message across. And how do you have that? But from the investment standpoint, I failed and I got scared. So I haven't done it again. Although talking to folks like you, my continued wisdom goes, you may have me convinced to go find as soon as I leave my next investment. But I'm not going to do it alone.
Yeah. I was answering a message on TikTok this morning from a guy, I don't know where he lives, I think he's in Ohio, and he was asking me if he should buy a 2-unit. And they have about 5,000 or 10,000 saved. They make $90,000 a year, and he's 27 years old, lives at home, and wants to know if he should buy a FHA 2-unit. And, of course, I asked him how much money he had, how much he makes, and some of the stuff. And then I said, yes, go buy it. He's worried about the rates.
Right.
I said, buy it. The rates probably aren't coming down. At least that's the way I'm playing it. Mm-hmm. And you have to continue to figure out how to make deals. And eventually, over time, real estate's going to go up in value, we hope. Mm-hmm. And it has. If you look at it, it has.
It has over time. Wow.
Every house I've built or flipped ever, I look back and I'm like, yeah, that was a deal. Those people are happy they bought those.
And this is what, a 20-year span, 25-year span?
Pretty much, yeah. 2000 till now, 22 years.
Yeah, wow.
22 years.
Wow.
And we've made a lot of mistakes, and that's what I think I've been good at teaching our team, is not to make the mistakes we did.
Wow. So what can a guy like me do for you? It sounds like you got it together. We're having a great time on a podcast. I've learned a lot. What can a guy like me do for you?
I mean, I know you probably have your circles, but if you find some young person maybe in Central PA or close to Carlisle that wants to learn how to sell real estate, I'm happy to mentor them. I'm a lecturer. I'm gonna tell them to make notes calls in Popeyes. I'm gonna tell them to go see people and build connections, and I'm pretty hard-nosed when it comes to that. So that's how you might be able to help me.
Oh, perfect. And by the way, it's an interesting setup. I've been doing in the recruiting space. Been doing this 20 years in HR and in real estate and recruiting, etc. And I got to tell you, there's no one brand that's better than the rest of the world. Sorry, as much as they like to push it, I haven't seen it yet. There's no one leader that's better than the rest of the world. It's finding the talent that matches up with that leader by far. So taking time to understand you a little bit better today absolutely will help me shape talent to where they're best matched up with the leader.
Well, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you. Appreciate you.